It's Thursday night, which means Thursday night football. The New York Giants versus the San Francisco 49ers. Why is Saquon Barkley being out one of the biggest storylines? We'll tell you next on the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Let's get locked in. Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your boy, Damian Parson, always on the ones and twos. You can find and follow me on Twitter at DP_NFL. I'm a national scout over with the Draft Network, as well as the host of the Locked On Clemson Football Podcast. Guys, happy Thursday, and thank y'all for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out to you guys for being our everydayers. And I got to kick this intro over to my guy, my partner in crime, Mr. LSU himself, Keith Sanchez. You can find and follow him on Twitter at The Talent Code. Keep talk to him, baby.
What's up, Locked On family? This is Keith Sanchez, senior draft analyst with the Draft Network, man. In 2019 national champ with those LSU Bengal Tigers, man. But you know why we're here, right? Myself, DP Damian Parson, we are here to bring you that championship level content surrounding the NFL draft 24/7, 365. This is the dynamic duo that you tap into for everything NFL draft. And like we said, man, the draft always matters, right? Doesn't matter if it's draft season, NFL season, college season, it all goes back to the draft. And DP, we are going back to the draft because we have a matchup tonight. We get the New York Giants versus the San Francisco 49ers, and the Giants have a couple injuries, man. They have one big-time injury to Saquon Barkley. So, DP, I'm going to kick this off. Well, why don't you kick it off with our title sponsor, and then I have a question for you.
Today's episode of Locked On NFL Draft is brought to you by Prize Picks. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL or use the promo code, all lowercase, Locked On NFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Keith, what's the question?
DP, no Saquon Barkley, now what? That's my question. What's your answer to that? No Saquon Barkley, now what?
Ooh. Daniel Jones, now it's on Daniel Jones for real. Like it's on the guy that you paid the money to, because you look at the other running backs is what Gary Brightwell, Matt Breida, Eric Gray, who we both liked coming out of Oklahoma, former Tennessee Volunteer in the SEC, but like none of those guys, even those guys combined, don't create Saquon Barkley, right? So you lose your best offensive weapon in this game. And don't forget, left tackle's out too. Andrew Thomas is also not playing. So your best offensive lineman and your best player on offense, both of those guys being out, that's a huge storyline for this game, Keith, because now for me, I think it puts the entire offense truly on the shoulders of the guy that got the big check, got the big bag, right? You didn't give the big bag to Saquon because he's a running back. You don't want to pay those guys. But now Daniel Jones doesn't have the guy that kind of helped uplift him, to a higher height last year, right? So now it's on Brian Daboll, Matt Kafka, and Daniel Jones to take this offense against a really strong Niners defense and try to find a way to get the victory.
Yeah, DP. So the thing is, when you say no Saquon, now what, right? Is Daniel Jones going to get the job done? And we talked about them, and being really close to being 0-2, and they had to have a comeback win against the Cardinals. And the momentum, if you ask me, in my opinion, watching that game, was built off of the back of Saquon Barkley. Like, and that's just how I felt. And Daniel Jones played really good football, and I'm not going there with this one, right? Y'all know I've went there in the past with Daniel Jones, but I'm not going there. But just kind of having that one guy, that motor, right, that you can rely on, that reliable weapon. So it's not who is going to be that reliable weapon for Daniel Jones in the New York Giants, right? And we talked about this running back backfield. I would like to see Eric Gray, right? I want to see him emerge and see some of the things that he can do, because I thought he was a fairly dynamic. I can use the word dynamic for him. I thought he was a fairly dynamic back that the Giants did good by drafting him. But I will also say from Saquon's perspective, right? You want to talk about headlines. Let's see what Daniel Jones and the New York Giants look like without Saquon Barkley, right? Because we consistently, Nick Chubb, right? He tore ACL, MCL, PCL, probably everything in his knee, right? And it's like, that's why you don't pay running backs. Saquon Barkley comes in the same exact weekend, right? He rolls his ankle, and it's like, that's why you don't pay running backs. But we'll let narrative start to shift just a little bit more, and it's like, well, running backs are valuable. You know what I'm saying? Because if we can't get the win, or if this thing looks totally out of whack, then that shows the value in the running back. So I'm going to be looking for just offensive structure with the Giants and how they build this thing up.
No, and losing, like we talked about, losing Andrew Thomas as well. That offensive line is going to have to figure. You lose your blindside protector for said Daniel Jones, who doesn't have Saquon. You talk about a tough sledding. You talk about, like, it's going to be hard out there to for one, protect him, right? But you can't. Can you be balanced running the ball? Not without Saquon. I ain't going to say like you can't do it at all, but it's going to be very, very difficult. So with this defensive line, the pass rush, man, Nick Bosa, paid, happy, back playing football. Good luck, New York. Good luck with Daniel Jones back there, because of the fact that without Andrew Thomas, your top guy, I think, the next guy up on the list at tackle is Matt Pert. And if Matt Pert's starting at left tackle, or Joshi Zudu, like, I don't know, man. I just think it's going to be tough sledding for this team, and trying to knock off a team that right now is rolling in the San Francisco 49ers, coming off 2 straight strong wins to start the season. I think both were on the road. I know that they won in Los Angeles last week. I think the other one was in Pittsburgh. So either way, like, what I mean, they're starting off strong, and it's just the storyline. Daniel Jones, show me you worth the money, man. Go out there and ball, because I had, like, week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys. You didn't look too good. You didn't score a point.
Yeah, so we'll definitely see how that is going to, I guess, unfold, right? Just with Daniel Jones, and and it's so much, and we understand that there are a lot of injuries, right? But when you pay your quarterback a certain amount of money, the expectation is for you to still look competent without your best player, right? If running backs are that irrelevant to the conversation. So it'll just be interesting just to see how, like you say, the storylines sway from one way or another, depending on what they do. Now, if Daniel Jones goes out there and performs well, then it's going to be a validation of this is why he deserves $40 million a year. So that conversation, right, and Brian Daboll, that conversation is going to be so interesting to see as the game plays out this evening. But DP, I want to get into our favorites, or my favorite segment for Thursday, right? And that's the impact matchups, right? Where we look at this depth chart, we look at this roster, and these are key matchups to look out for, because they will probably dictate in some facet some part of the game. So coming up next, man, I want to get into the impact matchup conversation and talk about these matchups that are going to impact this game.
Today's episode of Locked On NFL Draft has been brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. Prize Picks is really simple to play. You can make your picks and submit your entry in less than 60 seconds. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app all around in North America. This week on Prize Picks, I am taking Lamar Jackson over 228.5 passing yards versus the Indianapolis Colts, and Brock Purdy for over 1.5 passing touchdowns versus the New York Giants. So that's what I'm picking on Prize Picks this week. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the promo code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. With storms, shortages, pandemics, reliance on overseas travel, and supply chain issues, we need to be prepared now more than we ever have been. Everyone should be empowered to take care of themselves and their loved ones during unexpected times of need. That's why Jace Medical offers the Jace Case. The Jace Case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use and gives you a peace of mind so that you are not just hoping that you have access to the medication that you need in an emergency. All right. Jace Medical makes sure that you have the medication in hand. Jace Medical is simple. They handle everything from the online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medication delivery and ongoing consultation and care. Don't get caught unprepared, guys. All right, save more than $360 by getting these life-saving antibiotics with Jace Medical, plus an additional $20 off by using the promo code Locked On at checkout on JaceMedical.com. That's JASE Medical.com. Promo code Locked On. Impact matchups, Keith, and I have to look no further. It's a couple different ones in this game, Keith, but I think about Wink Martindale, the defensive coordinator for the New York Giants. What is he? Physical, aggressive, press man in your face type of defense in terms of coverage with his corners. And when you think about Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, they have some strong, especially run after the catch weapons, right? So will Wink Martindale kind of fall into a trap that I think a lot of teams struggle with defensively versus San Fran and play more off coverage and give them those quick outs, those slants, those quick routes that allow Brock Purdy to distribute, let his playmakers make those plays for him after the catch? Or do you get in these guys' face? And again, I mean, you look at the defensive backfield for New York, it's not great, right? There's not a lot of high-level talent in the cornerback room for the New York Giants. So will he be aggressive and play to his or coach to his style, what we've always known Wink Martindale to be? I'm interested to see that matchup, Keith, because if you do go physical and try to take away the quickness and the timing of these routes, how does that impact Brock Purdy, in this game, in the passing game?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with, and I know who I believe will win this matchup, right? But it's gonna come down to usage with this player, and that's Kayvon Thibodeux, right? Because obviously the San Francisco 49ers have they have Trent Williams on one side, right? But on the other side at tackle, they have Colton McKivitz, right? So if you're going to take advantage of one side, you're going to move Kayvon, right? And I know that there was talk through social media and might have even been post-game, right? People asking questions because I don't think Kayvon posted a tackle, right? And, just as a player, when you got to get questioned about your productivity, kind of rubs you the wrong way, right? Which I'm fine with it rubbing him the wrong way and motivating him, right? I don't say motivating like he's unmotivated, but, adding extra fuel to that fire, DP. I want to see Kayvon Thibodeux step up this game, right? Like this should be a Kayvon. It has to be a Kayvon Thibodeux-esque game, right? Because you were a top 5, top 6, top 7 pick. So I want to see you step up, show out, right? It's a primetime game and really show, even if you can't get the sacks, right? Get the pressures, get the hurries, get the backfield penetration from the edge position and do some different things. So that's one matchup when you talk about Kayvon Thibodeux versus either one of these offensive tackles. One looks like a better matchup than another, right? When you're going against Trent Williams, it's probably better to go against the other offensive tackle. Now I want to flip the sides of the ball, DP, and go with, and this is not going to be good, right? But the Nick Bosa versus our guy from Alabama, Evan Neal, right? Because that's his side. Nick Bosa lines up on the offensive tackles, the offensive formation. He lines up on the right side, right? And he's going against Evan Neal. And this is a guy that has been heavily criticized, right, through his young NFL career for pass pro. Guess what? He better strap him up tight because Nick Bosa, he's coming out there to have a TJ Watt-esque type game, right? Where he's getting 2-3 sacks, strip sack, forced fumble recovery, and a touchdown, right? He's trying to hit the trifecta. So those are the two matchups that I'm looking forward for. And
to that Nick Bosa point, Keith, I think both tackles got to be on alert, whether it's Evan Neal or if it's Matt Pert or whoever's at left tackle, because Nick Bosa does flip sides. So right. You talk about the same thing with Kayvon, them like Wink saying, okay, if Trent Williams is the best left tackle in football, why would I throw my young edge rusher who's kind of struggling right now on him all game when I could put him on Colton and try and build that confidence up, build that momentum, get some good rushes and pressures. I expect You know what I mean? Was it Steve Wilkes? I think is the defensive coordinator now in San Fran. I expect him to do the same thing with Nick Bosa, right? But not even just Nick Bosa, but also Drake Jackson, who is also on the opposite side, who can rush the passer as well. But Keith, I look at the offensive line. When I think about the offensive line, I think about it from this aspect. The offensive line for San Fran, the interior offensive line, right? Where you have Aaron Banks, Jake Brendel, Spencer Buford, going up against a defensive line that looks like Ashawn Robinson, Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams on the interior. And this is a team that wants to run the football, right? So even when you talk about Kayvon, I would tell Kayvon, before you even worry about getting these pressures, set the edge, because you know that stretch game is coming with CMC. You know Christian McCaffrey is on his way, pressing the edges, looking for a cutback lane to cut up, be one cut, and get vertical, and let that 4-4 type of speed beat your defense in open field. So I think that's going to be the big thing, because I always talk about this, Keith, when it comes down to Brock Purdy, and I know people don't like to hear it. You know what I mean? I had one guy on our YouTube comments kind of going at me because I said I called my shot with Jeff Sims, and listen, I can admit when I'm wrong. But one thing I don't believe I'm wrong on is that Brock Purdy is a middling quarterback. He's an average quarterback. You take him off this team, you don't feel the same way as Brock Purdy. I'm just calling the facts. All right, I'm calling the facts here. So if you New York, you want to stop the run and put them in 3rd and longs, right? Put them in 3rd and longs. That way, if you do want to back off, Keith, you put them in 3rd and 11, 3rd and 10s, 3rd and 8s. You sit at the sticks and you tell them to beat you vertically, right? You tell Brock Purdy throw it and stretch the field vertically. And that's not many teams have used a type of game plan to make him play left-handed, right? Think about how Bill Belichick would have handled this offense. He was like, oh, no, y'all not running it. CMC, I'm not giving you 100, 200 yards on the ground. Brock Purdy, you're going to have to be the catalyst of this team. And not off play action, but dropping back, shotgun, in passing situations. Not favorable, but real passing situations. Can he do it? And that's what I feel like the Giant Wink Martin is going to have to do. That interior defensive line, Leonard Williams, Ashawn, and Big Dexter. Let me tell you something. When granted, the offensive line is a little different. When the Giants faced off with in the preseason with the Panthers, Dexter Lawrence was out there like that. What's this old school the hump move? He was tossing guys, man. Like this big dude is physical, strong. He's quick off the ball. Like I'm just saying, like that offensive line just got to be prepared for him, because Keith, as a defensive coach, how do you stop the stretch game? Your D tackles get upfield, split that double team, that potential reach, get into the backfield and string that play out, make them bounce it out, right? That's how you do that. Your edges set the edge, your linebackers flow. And if they can do that, then we can probably see how Brock Purdy handles a situation where he's more relied on than just being a point guard and being as I always call him, he's a trailer.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm looking at this, the Giants depth chart, right? Because they've spent some draft capital over the past couple of years with Xavier McKinney and Deontay Banks and Cordell Flott, right? And those guys are going to play, and they're going to have to play well, and they're going to have to be good tacklers, right? Like in Xavier McKinney, I think this is a him type of game, right? Because he is he's a guy that likes to play close to the box. He likes to play physical, things of that nature. So this is a him type of game. Like he should leave this game with 10 plus tackles, right? And you want to, like you say, shut down the run and force them to throw the ball vertical. And then once you do that, right now, you want to see this, because Brandon Ayuk is a very athletic he's an athletic wide receiver, but Debo, I don't foresee Debo running past a lot of people, right? And Juwan Jennings is pretty solid. I think Danny Gray's on IR and Ronnie Bell, right? So that's pretty much the wide receiver core. So now the question is this: can you load the box and then get them to play Deontay Banks, right? And get Deontay Banks just to lock up, who showed that he's a really good athlete. I think he ran one of the top five fastest 40s at the combine, especially for the cornerback position. So, and he's a bigger physical player too. So, maybe that's the key to this matchup, because DP, I'm looking at it, right? And we're about to transition into the game picks, but you tell me a defense for the San Francisco 49ers that's starring Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave, Nick Bosa, Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner, and Taluna Hafonga, I get a little nervous, DP. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. That seems like a hell of a defensive lineup right there. So the Giants definitely have their work cut out for them, but there is a way that they can get the job done in DP. Let's go ahead and do it, man. Next up is coming up our game picks. We're gonna talk about who we think is gonna win this game. We may have a surprise pick.
Guys, Bird Dogs make me look and feel good, and they're going to make you look and feel good as well. I believe that. Why? Because their stretch khaki shorts are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and the leg, give you a truly sculpted look, the type of look that you've been aiming for after putting in the work in the gym on leg day. All right, their shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon's, and they fit way better. Not only that, why do they fit way better? Because they invented a cloud knit fabric that looks like khakis, but they stretch and give you the way slimmer fit without sacrificing all the movement. You're going to love that they use an anti-stink and sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long, especially when it's summertime if you live in a hot state. So guys, I'm gonna tell you now, one thing that they have a lot of different items, and one of my favorite items is the Yeti. I love this thing. Keeps my drinks cool when I have ice in them, and it keeps them hot when I need it to be. So go to birddogs.com / Locked On NFL or enter the promo code Locked On NFL at checkout for a free Bird Dogs water bottle with your order. That's birddogs.com / Locked On NFL for a free water bottle at checkout. You will not want to take off your Bird Dogs, we promise you. It's time to pick them. It's those game predictions, Keith. San Francisco 49ers versus the New York Giants. And this game is in San Fran. The Niners are hosting this game. It's a home game. Keith, I'm going to keep it a buck. I think this is a blowout. I think San Fran whoops the Giants, man. And if I get this wrong, I'll eat it. I'll take it. I don't care, because this is too high of a hill to climb, man. And like I said, it's a lot that has to go right. And we talk about trying to slow down Christian McCaffrey. That's easier said than done. Okay, that's easier said than done. And once he gets rolling, as much as I do feel like Brock Purdy is a product of his environment, one thing he can do is he makes the right decisions. He makes quick decisions, gets the ball of his hand, and he's going to distribute. And if you give him those type of looks where he's play action, put the ball in the belly of the beast, that CMC, pull it out, and then be able to read and quickly diagnose who's open and where his matchup is, man, he's going to slice and dice you. And he's going to have it's not going to be nothing crazy like 350 yards. It'll be 240 yards, 2-3 touchdowns. You know what I mean? Just efficient, because that's what he is. He's an efficient quarterback. I just don't see – it's too many things that has to go right for the New York Giants to win this game. And they're not home. So, nope, I'm going Niners. Big.
Okay, so yeah, DP, you know what happened in pre-show when we had this matchup? I looked at it and I thought about it, and I was right there with you. I was like, Niners by a lot, right? But I'm gonna say this, that I know that these Thursday night games, they get a little weird. You know what I'm saying? They can be weird at times. It's not as much it's not, you don't have as much time like for the coaching points, reviewing the film, and in week installations and things like that. So I'm gonna go with the Niners, but I think it's closer, right? And at first I was in the 12-point-ish range, right? But I'm gonna go under 10, right? I think this can be I'm expecting this to and potentially be a low-scoring game too, because I do think that Wink is going to feel some type of way with Arizona, right? I think Josh Dobbs, putting all those points up on his defense, I think he's going to feel some type of way. So, them stopping a run, I think they're going to load the boxes. And then, like you say, once they load the box, this may be a game where, you have to transition everything to Brock Purdy. So this would be fun, man, because we get a defensive coordinator in Wink Martindale versus, the head coach, OC, play caller, right, Kyle Shanahan. So I think it'll be a fun matchup to see who dials up what, right? Like what exotic type blitzes, what exotic type fronts we get from the defense, but then also what type of exotic, play calls, motions, and formations that we get from Kyle Shanahan. So I'm with you, DP. I'm gonna go 49ers also. I'm gonna just go somewhere under 10 points. I think it's just a close game.
2 touchdowns, book it. I'm rolling. I'm rolling with them Niners, man. Those boys are rolling right now, and
they look like trouble, man. They look like they legit, like all of the offseason hype, and and that's why it's so tough to judge, right? Because they probably had the most dysfunctional offseason of any team. Now, the Chicago Bears, they're winning, right? Chicago Bears are taking over when it comes to the in-season dysfunction. But the 49ers had off-season kind of dysfunction, but they stepped right in week 1 against the 49ers and act like nothing happened, right? They decided who the quarterback was. They went out there and rolled. Nothing bothered Brock Purdy. He went out there and did his thing. Against the Rams, they had a good divisional opponent, right? And they still came up with the win, was winning by 10 until Sean McVay decided to kick the field goal at the end. So, it's been a solid game, but DP, speaking of that, man, we're rolling right now, right? We started off week 1 and we're just starting to hit our stride, man. And that wraps up today's show. Like I said, man, shout out to the everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every day. Y'all make sure y'all pay attention to those first 2 segments, man. We talked about the biggest storylines and we talked about those impact matchups. Look out for those players that we talked about because they will definitely dictate the pace of this game. And like always, man, make sure y'all tap in with us every single day.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Get the latest episode as soon as it is available. YouTube, audio podcast, Apple, whatever. Tap into it. Thank y'all for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Thank y'all for being our everydayers, man. Shout out to you guys. And on tomorrow, we are previewing the rest of week 3 of the NFL. And then, we're going to talk about game picks. I'm going to have kind of where we are in terms of last week's picks, all that stuff. I'm going to have that tallied up. And we're going to see who's in the lead. You know what I'm saying? Right now, on Thursday night, me and Keith are both 2-0 on Thursday nights. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to make it 3-0 because the Niners are going to win. So tap in with us there. And like Keith always tell you, Saturday morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. We will be live. Big week of college football, big time matchups, ranked opponents. Tap into that, man, and holler at your boys, man. Talk to us because we do talk back. All right, follow us on Twitter, DP_NFL, at the talent code for Keith Sanchez. Come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.